here we've got this guy. This goes on first. That's our belt guide. And we've got this guy, which is our timing wheel. Then we've got, this goes on here by the look of it, that goes first. And then that lines up. Yeah, that lines up with our timing wheel here. Then that lines up with our belt path there. It's a little bit off, it's a little bit forwards, but this lines up perfect.
Do you think it'll clamp down further?
Nah, I don't think it's going to clamp down any further. And then this obviously goes on that. And then this is also a belt guide. You can see where the belt's been rubbing on these teeth here, so that's a belt guide there. And then we need this big ass degree wheel on. So it's still not long enough. So what we're going to do, that's going to be behind that, so I've got to take that off, I've got to run that, and then I've got to take the water pump off. Yeah, let's take the water pump off. Still wet, beautiful. Alright.
Alright dude, look at this. All 3 bolts are in there and I'm putting it down.
Nick, you already lost it. I'm blaming you.
And the Allen key is back on the Allen keys, alright? Fuck.
Oh yeah. Here we go guys. We're on track.
So you just whacked the degree wheel on there. You're not worried about exactly where you clock it when you put it on?
We're getting there. We're getting there. Alright, let's do this. Now guys, this is where it gets a bit hard to follow. I'll try my best to work with you. I've got Nico here who's going to ask questions that probably everyone else is going to ask. Man, it's hot. Are you feeling that heat?
It's hot, man. It's a hot day. So what do you got there, man?
So what we're doing now is I'm just trying to set up my dial post to find top dead center. Okay. So I've just jammed a bit of white welding wire in the end of it so I can get this down to my cylinder. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to find top dead center. Once I've done that, I'm going to put a bit of wire at the front of the motor. This looks pretty dodgy guys, and it is because we're only just trying to get a top dead center mark on our degree wheel. So what I'm going to do, so see how we've got a bit of deflection on the gauge there. This is sort of stable. It's not really stable at all. Just try and make it a bit more stable, I guess.
The problem is there's nothing to really stick it to on these motors.
No. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rock the motor back and forwards. So I'm going to come over, so that's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up. Okay, see it fall?
Yeah.
So it fell over at 40, didn't it?
Yep.
So that's going down now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come all the way around. Yeah. So intaking valves now. Piston's going to start coming up to top dead center.
So you're moving backwards now? Or
No, it's going all the way around.
Okay. So you went past it and kept going?
Yeah. So I'm going to start coming up. So any second it's going to start coming up. Piston's going to start coming up to top dead center. Oh. That's it.
Is it dwelling now?
Yeah, that's it dwell. So if we actually look at our mark that was down here before, off our timing gear to our actual piece.
Oh, it's
hard. It's very hard
to see on camera.
But if we looked before on the video, we'll see that red line
Yeah.
marked to the Hasselgren housing.
Yep.
So that's at top dead center. I've just gone past it. Okay, come around again. So 360 is top dead center cylinder 4. So that's cylinder 4. Now we're going to do our next cycle, another 360. So now it's coming up again. So it's coming up. Intake valves are shutting. It's compressing the air. It's going to start coming up.
Yep.
Somewhere there.
Almost. A little further.
Is it dwell?
It's not on 40 anymore. Maybe
No, it won't be.
Okay.
Okay, so that's top dead center. So now we've figured out exactly where top dead center is with our dial gauge.
Yep.
So now, how does that help us here? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use this bit of welding rod. I'm going to bend it onto something on the engine stand, whatever's fixed to the engine, and we're going to mark it over on our TDC line here on our degree wheel. So now that's our TDC, and we can get a full 360 degrees.
So can we backtrack a little bit? When
Yeah.
you were spinning the motor,
Yep.
you just kept spinning it all the same way clockwise?
Yes.
And then each time it came to top dead center on cylinder 1, we were just watching the dial gauge
We were
move.
watching it. So you've
Yep.
got two cycles. So an engine cycle is 720 degrees. It's not 360.
Yep.
It's a 4-stroke. So you've got 4 strokes: suck, squeeze, bang, blow.
Yep.
So that's our 4 strokes of one cycle. So we were going top dead center cylinder 4, and then going back to top dead center cylinder 1.
Yes.
So on the second cycle.
Okay.
So what we've done is we had, if I went past top dead center looking for it, and I went too far, when I was undoing it, what would happen? The bolt would just come undone.
Okay.
So because there's valve spring pressure's fighting me, and it's not done up tight enough.
Right,
so,
I see. Yep.
so I can't come back and then come forwards. I've just got to go through another cycle.
Okay, yep.
So we found our top dead center mark. So now we're just going to bend this bit of wire up, and we're going to make it fit.
Alright, so you've mounted this welding wire onto your engine stand, nice and firm,
Yep.
and you're just going to point it to 0.
Yep. What do you reckon? Looks pretty good.
That's pretty close.
Cool. All right. So now we have a top dead center mark. So if I cycle that back over, it'll come back up to top dead center. But how does that find our lobe center? And what is a lobe center? So how do you find the exact center of this lobe when you're coming around? And how do we read that on a camshaft card? I'll show you. With all my paperwork in my Kelford box. Now we go through our specs. What does it say? Suggested center lines is what we're looking at. The center line. The center line is the camshaft center line. That's where it's the peak of the lobe. Now we want it to be at 108 degrees after top dead center, and exhaust is before top dead center at 118. How do we find 108? Now you would just think, okay, well, you just put the, well, I don't know how you'd think of it, to be honest. I know how to do it, so I'm going to teach you. So what we do is we get our dial gauge. Now, we can't just measure the lobe with the dial gauge. You have to measure the bucket, because that's where the valve action is actually starting to happen.
Okay.
So what do? We find something metallic, which I have nothing to do it to. So we've got to try and find something metallic to go to that I can actually place the dial gauge in a position where I can put it down and measure from the actual bucket.
All right.
Once we're there, we rock the engine back and forwards, and we pick 2 points. So we'll pick a point 20 degrees either side of my center line, and then we average the two. So if we have the bucket start to move at 20 degrees before or 20 degrees after, wherever it might lay, wherever we pick a point, we rock between the two and average the number, and then that's our center line of our lobe when the valve starts to move. So let's say our valve starts to travel, let's say we let the valve move 20 thou. Then what we do is we go back on the other side. So we go right to the peak of the valve lift, and then we rock it 20 thou either direction. Half of that is our center line of our camshaft.
I see, okay.
So let's try and get this thing
Mounted somewhere.
mounted somewhere. Let's go off camera for a second. We'll just try and figure out a way to do this.
No, I'm going to record the struggle.
Record the suck. Yeah.
So like now you've got this new super sturdy setup with the zip ties.
Yep.
It's sort of working out.
We've got it working.
Yeah.
So we initially measured, we didn't write any results down. What was the first result we got? It was like
A 94, I think.
94. It's nowhere near the 108 that they want. So
Yeah.
like you say, cam card's saying that they want 108 degree lobe center. Now, to find the 108 degree lobe center, what we do is we've zeroed the degree wheel to our crankshaft.
Yep.
Then what we do is we get the dial gauge and we set it up on the bucket, because that's where the valve's actually lifting from. So we want to find the lobe center of the camshaft by finding it off the bucket, because we can't measure accurately the cam lobe and where that center is actually starting to actuate the valve. So if you go directly to the bucket, up to our dial gauge.
And it's currently on full lift as well. It's
yes. So what we do is we rock the engine back and forwards, and as the lobe passes over the bucket, it hits full lift at some point. So what we do is we zero the dial gauge when it hits full lift, and then we go either side of the drop of the lobe. So as the lobe teeters over the bucket, as it starts to come off the full lift and it starts to dip, we measure 10 thou of drop of the valve starting to close, and then we take a measurement of our degree.
Yeah, we get the reference from there. Yep.
So right now we're at 10 degrees of drop on the, so let's just say the forward side of the lobe, and our number came up to 85, 6, 7, 8, 88. The other side came up to 120 at the same 10 thou of drop. And what did we come up with? Our center line was 104.
104, which is just like,
which is a bee's dick off our 108.
Yep.
So we can sit here for hours and we can play with this, and all we're doing is at any point in time, we just say, okay, we want to adjust this now. I just back off these bolts. I adjust our cam using our reference here on the actual, so here you've got the timing marks on the Hasselgren gears. All adjustable aftermarket gears will have these timing marks on them. We move it a couple of degrees here, and that affects our lobe center line according to our timing of our engine.
Yep.
So I think it's like each degree on the cam is 2 degrees of crankshaft rotation. It's 2 to 1.
Yep.
So if we move it one line here, that's 2 degrees of valve lift change or center line change.
Okay.
So if I know that that center line is exactly 2 degrees out, if I move it 1 degree, it's going to correct our center line 2 degrees on our top dead center.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to make this exactly 108, I'd move it another 2 degrees on our cam. This is so finicky and touchy, it's really, really hard to get. But like you say, once you've got an understanding of where you're at as a start point, so I know that I'm at 108 degrees lobes, or 104 degree lobe center now. Kelford's recommending 108. I'm just going to leave it there and we'll see what it does on the dyno. If it needs to be changed, then I can say to the dyno tuner, because I won't be tuning it, I'll be saying to him, you know, we're at 104 degree lobe center, and he's going to go, okay, I'm going to send this cam card back with it, and he says, well, hold on, they want 108, let's compare the two differences. He'll tune the engine up to be full power and whatever it wants to do. He might then move it to 108, and the overall power figure in the top end might not change, and he goes, well, at 104 I gain more mid-range or I gain lower end torque, so I'm going to run with 104 rather than the 108. He might say, let's knock some more timing out of it, or let's put more timing into it than 108, and it might gain massive differences through the middle, because you've got to remember, in a turbocharged application, we've got boost control. So we've got targeted boost control. So if I want 30 pounds of boost, the ECU does everything it can to ramp to 30 pounds and then target 30 the whole cross way. So realistically, we're trying to now use cam timing to get the engine to make peak power and torque below the power, below the amount of 30 pounds of boost. So ramping up to that point, we want to try and maximize power and torque below that. So if it takes more cam advance, we're going to put more advance into it to do that, because at the end of the day, the boost controller is going to target the boost pressure that we do anyway in the top end. So it's not really going to affect our overall power, the cam timing, especially on a turbocharged engine, but definitely in an aspirated engine, this can definitely help. So
yeah, cool.
We'll check the, I'm going to lock the intake cam up there, so I'm going to back off the cam bolts and Loctite all those in and set that.
Yep.
They can adjust that on the dyno if they want. We're going to move on over to our exhaust cam, see where our exhaust center line is, and I guess we'll just set up and film for that, and the process that we go through for that, and we'll write it all down and show you how it works.
Excellent. Okay, so you just rocked it and you found 0.
Yep, so if I come back.
So you're going to come back 10 degrees.
So 0, or 10 thou.
Sorry, 10 thou. Let's fix that
That's
up.
11. $92.
So write 92 down.
Yep. Then we'll go back the other way.
So this is going to find the other side at 10 degrees. 10 thou.
10 thou, yep. 121.
Okay. 121. So So we'll plus these together and then divide
them by 2. And then that finds our lobe center. And like you say, guys, our target lobe center is 118. 118 degrees. See where we're at. 106. We're getting close. So we went better because the last result was
whatever
this.
that was. Yeah.
So
it was 80 something.
So we're essentially, it looks like we're going to be a tooth out on the exhaust cam.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it back to 0 and I'm going to knock it back 1 tooth exactly on the exhaust cam, and then that'll put us at our lobe center line. We'll actually close to our lobe center line, we'll have adjustment.
Cool.
So let's, so yeah, we're basically maxed out. Like, have a look here. We're maxed out on that gear. So
yeah, just add a tooth and that'll fix it.
yeah. You know what? We're probably out of tooth on the intake cam as well. Look, we're maxed on that too to get our lobe center line right.
Okay.
So we're probably out of tooth on both.
Okay.
That's probably why it's wrong.
All right.
That's why probably it's not at 0.
And that's why we do these checks, because we don't have a
we don't have a
timing
backing cover. Yeah, we were talking about that with you, just
Yeah.
off camera with yours. Because there's no timing cover on these guys, I don't have a reference point to actually set my dots to my cam, my timing case. So realistically, I'm just flying off the fact that I know my lobes have to face this way and this way when I put my belt on. So now we've actually checked the lobe center lines. We're a tooth out on both gears by the look of it, because to get our lobe center line correct on our intake, we're completely retarded 1 tooth, and then on our exhaust, we're a completely advanced 1 tooth. So it was a tooth out on both gears by the look of it. So
cool.
yeah, I guess we'll just correct that now. So pretty simple job, guys. All we're going to do is just going to loosen the tensioner off, pull the belt off, move them over a tooth, set them back to 0, recheck, and then we'll be good to go.
Easy as.
Yeah. All right. These need to be lock wide. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that to Merle. Loctited, Loctited, Loctited. This hasn't been done yet. I'm going to leave this loose for the moment. I'm going to do the cam cover next. Yeah. And then I think I'll do this right at the very end.
Are you going to glue the cam cover and everything? Or
Yeah,
are you just gonna,
yeah. I'm going to glue that on. Yeah. All right, are we ready?
Ready,
Let's
man.
do it.
Let's do it.
Well, I guess this is it, Nico. We're going to close this thing up.
That's the same glue you used for the head gasket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shit. Is that what they used last time?
No, they use some other stuff. It's like a grey compound. I haven't seen it before. I think it's like some mil-spec stuff.
So that'll be it for this video, guys, and unfortunately that brings us to the end of this engine build. And if you've made it this far, you are probably just as excited about this series as I was, and I really appreciate your support. I also wanted to thank Mel Swan for giving us the opportunity to tinker on this engine, as it's obviously been a dream of ours to even see one of these engines in real life, let alone work on one. And the fact that he gave us the green light to upload these videos is really cool. So if you want to see more of this engine, go check out Swan Motorsports on Insta and Facebook, where Mel has already gotten this thing back in the car and he's already made a few upgrades. And while you're there, be sure to give him a follow and wish him luck for the Pikes Peak hill climb. I also wanted to thank Matt for sharing a wealth of knowledge in these videos, and if you haven't already, be sure to follow MT Performance Engines on Insta, YouTube and Facebook, because he's always doing something cool. So yeah, thanks again for your support, guys, and I'll see you next time.
No matter who you are, now our future is gone. Monsters recreated all around. We have to survive now, sunshine is gone. What's left of the world live under the ground.
work, man.
I'm feeling pretty tight now.
We're almost there, Nico. Push through.
Pushing, man.
Bears.
I always said that like I'd never go anywhere that there's bears.
We're not at the top of the food chain anymore,
Yeah,
hey.
it's crazy.
But we're Aussies. Bears don't like Aussies because we're tougher, you know, like
I thought it was because we stink.
Americans, no.
I think it was just playing. But how do you know that?
Yeah, it's a tiger, man. That's gonna kill your ass.